Hey y'all, how's it going? It's Swebe, and we got our Battleground Season 4 announcement, and I am so excited to talk about it with you. We have brand new minions coming. We have a lot of minions leaving. Buddies, of course, are leaving as well, so let's talk about it. So this brand new season is going to start on May 9th. That's next Tuesday. And as I mentioned before, buddies will be leaving, and we will also be seeing a massive minion shakeup. I do have to say, I think this is one of the biggest minion shakeups ever, if not the biggest minion shakeup ever. A lot of things are changing, but we are also getting a new hero. We have Rockmaster Voon. With a passive hero power, at the end of every 3 turns, you get a plain copy of the leftmost card in your hand. This is not minion on your board, this is card in your hand. And I don't know about any of y'all, but sometimes you end up not really saving cards to your hand, so kind of intrigued on how that's going to go. Also, 3 turns does seem a little bit slow. But I'm very excited to try this out. I think that it could be very great. Also, I'm just big fan of economy, so stoked to try out Voon. We also have a new minion type that's not quite a minion type, but we have some new upbeat minions which have a special effect that trigger every certain amount of turns that they're in play. And so the more turns they're in play, the more they trigger. So like we have our upbeat front Drake. At the end of 3 turns, get another random dragon. This is Tavern tier locked, so it can't be anything from tier 5 when you're on tier 2. And then we have our upbeat impressionist, which is a tier 5 pirate. At the end of every 2 turns, make a random pirate in your hand golden. I'm actually, okay, we'll talk about the minion types later. I'm really, hot take, excited to try the new pirates. But yes, we'll get there. Upbeat minions sound pretty fun. I like an end of turn effect. We also have some massive keyword updates here. This is huge. This is the biggest change ever. Okay, so Poisonous is gone now. Poisonous is being replaced by Venomous, which is so massive. Venomous is very different than Poisonous. It still has the same effect that Poisonous would, but it's only for 1 hit. So after this minion attacks and instantly destroys a minion, and your Venomous minion's still alive, it will not have that same effect anymore. It's simply the stats that that minion has. I think this is so healthy for the game. I think this is so very important, and I love this change. It's not going to be, you know, like when it's turn 8 or 9 and someone has like 2 Mantids and they happen to Toxfin another Murloc, and then, you know, it's just kind of, that's the end of the game for you. That can't happen anymore because those Mantids, even if it's got Divine Shield, that Venomous effect only helps 1 time. So I think that's going to be really nice. It is still that removal mechanic that Poisonous created, but it's not so overwhelming that it's a win condition. It's just a removal mechanic. I love it. We're also seeing a change with Wind Fury. Mega Wind Fury doesn't exist anymore. So I know we've all faced like an Illidan that has Mega Wind Fury Cyclone in position 1 and position 7, and you just don't play that turn. Your board is just wiped. So having the Mega Wind Fury effect gone, where it doesn't hit 4 minions, just hits 2, feels fantastic. I think it's going to be really healthy as well, because there's definitely, it can get oppressive. So very excited to see that just be Wind Fury. Golden Wind Fury minions are just Wind Fury. Before we get into all of the minions, this is a big change, so this is going to be a whole lot of talking. Just wanted to say that the track is going to refresh as well. So if you are someone that collects the cosmetics or wants those additional heroes, that track refresh will happen with the beginning of the season, just like that MMR reset. Also, if you'd like to see what you can potentially get on that track, the patch notes will be in the description, so you can check out the graph with the master list of all of the different things you collect on the cosmetics track. I do want to make a really quick note here before we get into the minions that this is going to be a very interesting rollout of the minion types. Instead of all of them coming at once, we do have some phases, and these are at the very bottom of the patch notes. We're going to be getting some dev talks from Hearthstone in which the devs kind of talk about the Battlegrounds changes, but on May 9th, in addition with dev talk number 2, we are getting Beast, Murloc, Dragon, Elemental, Naga, and Undead in the Battlegrounds, followed by Pirates on May 11th, Demons on May 15th, and Quibor and Mech on May 22nd. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, let's talk about these minions. So I did go through and I did see what was rotating out as well from the card library. So we have many things to talk about in terms of what's leaving and what we are going to be seeing and potentially how that's going to change the minions themselves. We're going to go in order of the patch notes, so we'll start with Beasts. Okay, so beasts. There are two big things that I noticed missing. One of them kind of affects a couple playstyles, couple heroes, and one of them kind of affects somewhat of an endgame sometimes, or at least a tech, in my opinion. We are seeing Alley Cat leaving on tier 1. That's a pretty important minion. The token is incredibly important to a few different playstyles, whether you're tripling it with Bran or whatever the case. That token was a very good source of economy, and now that is leaving. Another very large minion that I noticed was gone is the Cave Hydra. That's that tier 4 cleave. So Beast no longer has cleave, which is very, very interesting. But the overall vibe of what it seems to be on the graphic, on the patch notes, is a lot of death rattles, a lot of summoning. And the way of summoning is a little bit different. So really, we don't have any more old school Beast comp. And what I mean by that, Goldrin is also leaving. So what I mean by that is the Macaw proccing the Goldrin with the Hydras and the Mama Bears, the things that are just static beasts that gain stats. That's not happening anymore. Instead, we have a lot of things that summon other things. We're seeing like the Banana Slamma is a replacement for Bird Buddy, and just overall lots of summoning. So additionally, as I mentioned, Goldrin leaving, Sorrelisk also leaving. That's one of those beasts that did gain stats. It was from death rattles, but it seems like the overall vibe at this point is to summon minions, which it was. Beast was always a swarm minion type, but we are seeing Octosari come in. This is a tier 6, and it does permanently gain stats every turn you summon minions. So it's like a little hidden surprise inside the 6/7 that I think is just going to scale pretty epically. And the Fell Stomper is a really nice combo here. Overall, just a lot of summoning coming from beasts. We already saw that kind of happen, but now it is very clear. Pale Scale's back. It's very clear that we are here to summon the beasts. Next, we have our Murloc. So obviously Murloc is the most affected by poison leaving, but there are some venomous things here for the Murloc. And notably, instead of Battle Cry, I mean, there are still Battle Cries available, but it seems like the whole basis of Murloc is about hand buff. We're seeing some pretty interesting units in terms of a hand buff mechanic. And there's also like the Operatic Belcher that's got the Venomous and a Death Rattle giving another unit Venomous. So depending on how things go, base skill, summon something from your hand. It seems like it's much less of a Battle Cry focus. I'm really intrigued by this because the hand buff concept is not really something that we've had for Battlegrounds so far. So really interested to see this addition too, and might feel very good playing specifically with Voon, having that ability of copying the minion in your hand. And this is the higher you get up in the tavern tiers for Murloc, the more hand buff seems relevant. So very intrigued to play some Murloc builds here because it's going to feel like a new minion type. Next, we have dragons. Now, the most notable minion that was gone for me, there are several minions leaving. Also, my heart breaks for Razorgore. Poor Razorgore, gone, came back, gone again. But notably, Atromedes is gone. Atromedes was a really useful tech tool in terms of removing some shields. So Atromedes being gone is probably pretty good. It did hard counter a few things, but the things that it hard countered aren't relevant anymore, like specifically Mechs builds. Mechs will be leaving. We'll get into that later. But Atromedes being gone is very interesting. Nadina still in for dragons, so countering a dragon build with an Atromedes doesn't exist anymore. Overall, it does seem like there has been a little bit of Battle Cry support for Kalecgos, which is great because Kalecgos definitely needed a little bit of love. So I'm excited to see how some of these dragons synergize with each other. I'm unsure about how spectacular they're going to be, but I'm very, very excited to try them out. I do think that this is going to be kind of one that I would like to feel out and play before I make too many decisions about how I feel about it. Let me know what you think about it. I'm not sure. Elementals are the changes were pretty interesting to me. We saw some like pretty direct this for this. Like the Gar and the Upbeat Upstart, it's not exactly the same, it's close. The Rock is the closest thing I could find to the Lil Rag. Elemental of Surprise is a fun one because it acts basically as another unit for the triple. So that could be, you know, a fun little way to find your triple elemental. But the biggest change for me, right, Lightspawn and Lil Rag are both gone. So right now I felt like there were a few different mechanics on scaling elementals. Like even if you didn't hit a Nomi, but you hit a Lil Rag, you can still cycle elementals. You can get a brand. You can play a whole elemental build just that way, even without the elementals in the shop having that much of a buff. But Lightspawn was a really nice, you know, you triple into 4. You play like a milk comp and you get that nice avenge mechanic. We do have the Dancing Barnstormer with the death rattle of +2/+2. You can trigger it with a macaw, but each turn it does feel like it's going to be just a little bit slower than a Lightspawn would be, especially if you were trying to get as much as you could out of the avenge mechanic. I don't know that Dancing Barnstormer is going to be a replacement for that. We'll see. I think it's just a little bit too small of buffs for the shop. It does seem very Nomi focused. Like scaling elementals with this patch seems to be pretty heavily focused on Nomi, especially since Lil Rag doesn't exist anymore. Nomi was already very important to me, and now Nomi is going to be extra important to me when I play elementals. Next, we have Naga. So the biggest minions I saw leaving were Greta Goldgun, which is absolutely massive. This is a massive spellcraft to not have, especially for Lady Vash. That's huge. We also don't have the Wave Rider anymore or the Warden of Old. Warden of Old was a nice little 3-drop that gave you a gold coin, and it's now, it left, it came back, and now it's gone again. Having that economy on 3 was really nice, and it fit into many builds, not just Naga builds, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily fit a mold, so I get it. Wave Rider being gone with the Wind Fury, that's very interesting. So a minion that doesn't have Wind Fury can't be given it by Wave Rider. We see a few Spellcraft minions leaving, but we also see a few Spellcraft and Spellcraft synergetic minions coming in from the new set. So I'm sad to see Greta go, but I'm excited to try these new Naga and how they're going to work. Notably, also, Eventide Brute is going down to 3. I have loved playing Naga, so this is going to be fun. The Zesty Shaker looks like a whole lot of fun. So for Undead, I didn't really think there was like big, massive, crazy changes. Like Jelly Belly's gone, Possessive Banshee's gone, amongst a few others. Those were probably the biggest for me. Like if you had the Scarlet Skull and the Jelly Belly, it was a really nice combination on 3. Just having that situation to buff your board. But we are seeing, there's one new minion that's coming for Undead that I am quite excited about. Radio Star on tier 3 seems fantastic. You get a plain copy of whatever minion killed the Radio Star, which is hilarious because I just got the reference just now. I said it out loud and I got the reference. That's fantastic. I'm a fan. But really though, seems like a great minion. I'm very excited to try it. Overall, I wasn't expecting too many changes to Undead because it is the newest minion type added to the game. So this is nice. This is good. We're seeing the Incorporeal Corporal come to tier 1, which is that 5/5, which you could discover from Putricide, but it does get destroyed after it attacks. So good to run at the back of the board, some early tempo. Undead. Okay, Pirates. Pirates, hot topic. I feel like there's a whole lot of people that are so upset about Pirates. My hot take, I'm very excited. I truly am. So when we first saw like a minion shakeup that happened in Battlegrounds, we saw that Pirates were going to be more gold focused. That's absolutely the case here with the new minions coming in and some of the minions leaving. Hogger's leaving. Hogger is leaving. That's large. That's a large change. In addition, Salty Looter's leaving, which was kind of an important scaling pirate. If you had Hogger, you really wanted to have Peggy and or Salty Looter to make value of all the pirates that you had for less money or potentially free or potentially make money when you buy the pirates. So you wanted something there. Salty Looter leaving is interesting. South Sea Strongarm also leaving, which was a fantastic unit to find. And if you had a brand on your board, absolutely scaled your pirates a whole lot. I did notice a kind of trend in the lower pirates, the lower tiered pirates having attack buffs, not so much health. We don't really see a lot of health until Lovesick Balladist and just kind of overall buffs. So that's pretty interesting. We are seeing a whole lot of gold, as I mentioned before. A few changes like tier 5, Vanessa is now +2/+1 instead of +2/+2. Also, I think I'm really excited for the Upbeat Impressionist. That's the tier 5 that it has that upbeat effect that gives you golden units to your hand. That's really great for discovers. That's I have no qualms. I think Upbeat Impressionist is actually fantastic and just going to be a really great, valuable unit. Overall, I feel like pirates have maintained the pirate vibe, just like a different take, which I am very excited to try. Hot take. I love it. Sad that Pip is leaving, though. Pip was a really nice discover tool. But aside from that, and Gold Grubber also, sad that Gold Grubber is leaving. But with the end of turn stuff happening, I feel like Gold Grubber probably would be very, 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 very broken with a neutral minion we're going to talk about in a bit. Oh, that's why Razor Gore left too. Moving on now, we have demons. This is also a pretty big change. Soul Juggler's gone. Not that I like really loved juggling souls, but like if I had to play demons, which I truth be told don't really like demons, but if I had to play them, Soul Juggler was a way that I would do that. Also, this is very interesting. So we had Mal'Ganis, right? And then got replaced by Catherine is here. They're gone. There's no immune effect anymore. So Wrathweaver's still in. Everyone's favorite pink man, but mine. Wrathweaver's still here. So, and there are several demons that are kind of a damage-inducing demon. I think that Soul Rewinder, this new tier 2, is going to be the most important minion. After you take a damage, it rewinds it and then gains health. So that's basically like the immune effect, but you'd still take that damage. That's going to be very interesting. We saw in the first minion shakeup more of like a consuming the shop situation for demons. That remains true. And now we're seeing the addition of this kind of pain to your face with demons, and Soul Rewinder just being so very important to this comp. I am not gonna lie, I like it better than I liked demons prior, except for Soul Juggler's gone. There's not a lot of token here anymore. We still have like the Ring Matron, but aside from that, not a whole lot of token here. So we'll see how this goes. Am I going to play demons? Maybe. All right, moving on to Quilboar. These are some pretty important minions that are leaving. They're kind of comp-defining minions that are leaving here. We have Groundshaker, Darkgaze Elder, and Brute all leaving. Groundshaker leaving is kind of crazy to me because that attack value was very, very important. In addition, Darkgaze leaving was definitely a very nice scaling unit. You just had to like get enough economy and then you really got a board going. Brute leaving as well. Brute specifically as almost a comeback mechanic where you could get those gems, get the additional gems because Brute's great like that, and then pull them off with the Necrolite, which Necrolite still exists. But that was a very useful tool, especially to if you are like me and you like to go 3-on-3 and you find a Brute. That was always a really nice situation. So interestingly also, I feel like we have two new minions that almost remind me of like our new like hero power druid situation. We have the Moonbacon Jazzer and the Prickly Piper, both of which the gems either give more attack or more health for the rest of the game. So that in combination with Bristlebach, really like the name, but that in combination with Bristlebach feels pretty good, pretty interesting. It's like heavily reminding me of Druid right now, with Festival of Legends. The only thing I don't like about Bristlebach specifically is that it is an avenge mechanic, and that's not really what Quilboar gives you. Quilboar doesn't really have a lot of minions to summon, so maybe you're running half of a beast build at the front of your board and getting that value at the back of the board. That's going to be more of like a menagerie situation, I feel. But I'm not 100% vibing it yet. So that's definitely going to be something we're going to have to try out. Moving on to mech, we now have the biggest minion going, in my opinion, is Mechs. It may be in the top 5 of all of the minions leaving for me, because I think that it is like it's a very helpful mech piece. It is very important to a lot of mech builds. So Mechs leaving is really interesting and very much leaning into a magnetic vibe, which I do like. I like this sounds really interesting to me, the amount of magnetic coming into the game, and it almost gives mech a new play style. Like, it really does feel very different, and I'm excited to try it out. The only thing that I'm sad that Mechs is leaving is because Boombox is still here, and Mechs was a fantastic counter for Boombox. So I love playing Boombox, but I also would love to counter Boombox. So that's my only thought about that. But potentially, there's some health to be gained here and ways to play around Boombox in other ways. But that was the only thing that came to mind for me for Mechs leaving. But very excited to try all these new magnetic things. I think it's going to be really fun. Just give mech a nice refresh, a nice new play style. So for neutrals, we have, I'm really sad about this. We have Theotar leaving. Oh, it's okay. We still have Bran. We have Theotar leaving, though. That's really sad. In addition to Theotar leaving, we also have Seafood Slinger leaving, which does make a lot of sense considering the Murloc shift to more of like a hand buff situation. And then it would really only be used for discovers and like to make the good Murlocs even gooder. So it makes sense. And then Tavern Tipper's leaving, and I'm kind of surprised about Tavern Tipper leaving. But another one that does make sense. It's kind of just, biding your time and doesn't really have a lot of play outside of that. So good to see that one go. Also, just one more note, Ball of Minions is gone, which is really crazy. That was a great mechanic. But could get out of hand. Ball of Minions is gone, and we have a Mistake now coming in. So that is our all-typed unit. It's not tier 1, so it's a very available unit. We also see that Mantid is still in, just Venomous. So as I mentioned earlier in this video, you get that one poisonous hit. After that, it's no longer poisonous. So if it didn't get a bunch of adapts and it can't take things down with just its attack, not a great unit anymore, which is very, very interesting to see. Also, even though I'm sad about Theotar, we are seeing the Boogie Monster come in, which when you play a tier 1 minion, all your minions get +1/+2. When you play a tier 2 minion after that, +1/+2, and on and on. So it does have a kind of Theotar vibe to it, and it kind of combos with Firework, and Firework is staying in, Firework Fanatic. So that does feel like a nice addition to that situation. And my favorite new neutral is the Drakari Enchanter. This is great with all of our upbeat units. At the end of turn, effects trigger twice. So Grubber leaving makes sense. Razorgore leaving makes sense. All of those crazy end of turns that can snowball very quickly, it all makes a lot of sense now. But can be very fun with those upbeat units. And with Voon as well. That's kind of what I was coming to when we were talking about Voon. Sounds like it could be pretty fun. I'm excited to try Drakari. Throughout this week, here on our YouTube channel, we are going to be getting more in-depth on the minions, doing some theory crafting, doing some fun things for the new season. I'm very excited to share that with you all. Let me know your thoughts on the new minions. Let me know what you're excited for, what you're sad to see leaving. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.